Hey guys, this is Mark with AdultAspergersChat.com, and today I want to talk to the guys on the autism spectrum who are married. You don't have permission to relax in the marriage. You don't have permission to relax in the marriage. We might be thinking, what the hell do you mean, Mark? Well, what happens oftentimes, I'm finding with guys on the autism spectrum, they go, I've already done all my work, my mission is accomplished, I've arrived, I can relax. And what they mean by that is, well, you know, I asked her to go out, we went on dates, I asked her to marry me, she married me, we had kids, I have a job, she may or may not work part-time or full-time, and you know, I'm paying the bills, and I'm co-parenting, at least as far as I'm concerned. So I've arrived. I can rest. You can't. I got news for you. The marriage doesn't have a destination that you land on and it's over. You know, if you were going to San Francisco from New York, you would have an ending destination, right? You would drive there, you would find your hotel, you would park in the parking spot, and you'd get out of the car and go into your hotel room and lay down. You're done, right? A marriage doesn't work like that. There is no arrival. You're always growing, you're always learning, you're always creating, you're always nurturing one another. She is your soulmate. She is your life companion. She is your co-team player on a team of two. And there's ongoing growth and improvement that is supposed to happen. And so if you have the thought that there's no more work to be done and all the work is over and all you have to do is just maintain the status quo of get up and go to work and then come home and relax with your special interest or whatever, then that's why you're experiencing a lot of grief with your NT wife, because she's not ready to just, you know, okay, well, we're done growing in this relationship, so we can just chill out. She doesn't think like that, nor should you. Ongoing growth would include give and take in conversation, stopping what you're doing and not be distracted and instead pay attention to her and listen to what she's saying. Give her some love, compassion, gratitude, validation, nurturing, physical affection, sex. So it's not just enough to do for her. And I know that's how a lot of you guys show your love. Seriously. A lot of you guys show your love by doing for her. And many of you do a wonderful job with that. You work, you bring home the money, you may do some chores around the house, you may do some helping out with taking care of the kids and whatnot. And when you do something for her, you know, like, I don't know, change her oil on in her car or something like that, you're task-oriented, and your task that you spent your time and energy on something for her, that is how you show your love. And hopefully she understands that. But it's not enough. It's not enough just to do for her. That's only 50% of the equation. The other part is you have to be with her. There's doing for and there's being with. She's missing the part where you're supposed to be with her. That's what she's wanting. She's saying, I want some emotional reciprocity. I want some empathy. That's the being with part. And being with her is an ongoing project. So if you want to turn it into another task, hey, fine. So put it on your to-do list. At 5 o'clock, I'm going to be with my wife, not with my cell phone and my computer. Or I'm not going to be distracted with other things. I'm going to be with my wife in the sense that I'm focusing on her, focusing on us, focusing on the team. So that's the moral to this story, guys. You can't relax. You've been relaxing. You thought you could just have a permanent timeout. No. The relationship is ongoing, and there's always work to be done. Hey guys, this is Mark with AdultAspergersChat.com, and this is a message to the guys on the autism spectrum. I got a message, actually an email, from an NT wife, and she said, my husband is afraid to join your group because he's afraid that he's just going to be told what's wrong with him. And I had the thought that, well, if this one particular guy feels that way, I wonder how many others are feeling that way. So let me set the record straight here. There's plenty wrong with your behavior and your thinking as well. But you know what? I can say the same thing about her. So that almost means nothing. But let me assure you, in the men's group, there's not going to be any shaming or blaming or ridiculing or putting you down or me being parental or telling you what's wrong with you. Okay? That's not going to happen. In fact, if anything, I'm going to be doing the opposite. I'm going to try to build you up and get some self-confidence instilled back into you and boost your self-esteem. I'll be doing the opposite of that. So, lest you think these groups are going to be me telling you how, oh, you got this disorder and here's what's wrong with you and you've been such a bad person doing all this and this and that. That's never going to happen. Never has and never will. So you don't have that excuse for not joining. The other thing is, some guys go, well, I don't really feel comfortable in the group and, I don't really want to talk. You don't have to talk. Just type in your question and hit enter. It'll pop up on the screen and I'll answer it. So, if you're one of the shy people that doesn't want to talk, that's fine. Just type your question. So you don't have that excuse. And then some guys will go, well, I feel awkward being on a camera and not sure I want people seeing me. But shut your camera off. You don't have that excuse. And then some guys, well, I don't have a diagnosis. I have not been diagnosed with ASD. Well, let me tell you, most of the guys in the group have not been diagnosed with ASD. A few of them have. Most of them have not. Some are kind of self-diagnosed. They would say, yeah, if I were to go get an assessment, I'm sure I would be on the autism spectrum. And other guys go, well, no, I probably wouldn't meet enough of the criteria to actually meet the enough of the different traits to qualify for the disorder. But I have enough of the traits that is causing a problem in the relationship. So it's a mixed bag with the guys. You don't have to have a diagnosis to be in there. You don't even have to think that you're on the spectrum. As long as you know some of the traits associated with the disorder and think that you may have some of them and that those traits are causing a problem in the relationship, that's all we need to work with. So you don't have that excuse either. And then some of the guys go, well, I looked at the day and the time and it conflicts with me. I'm working during that time. I won't be able to attend that group. Well, I record the sessions, and I will send you a link to the session, and you can view that hour-long session at your convenience, and then you can still ask questions. And then I will answer your questions during the next meeting. So then when you come back and watch the second session a week later, I will be answering your questions, so you don't have that excuse. Okay, guys? You really have no excuse to join. Okay? No shame, no ridicule. What we will be doing is working on maybe some faulty belief systems that have not been working for you. What we will be doing is looking at some thinking errors that you might have that are working against you. What we will be doing is looking at some things to reduce your anxiety and to help you communicate more with your NT wife. So, that's what we're going to be doing in the group. You really have no excuse not to join, and I want you in there. because I think I can help you. And so think about it, consider it. Actually, you know what? Don't think about it. Just click on the link below this video and register while it's still on your mind. Okay? Thanks, guys. Hey guys, this is Mark with AdultAspergersChat.com, and today I've got a little message for some of the NT wives out there. I got an email from a lady, and she said that I had made a comment a few weeks ago that the NT wives are 50% of the problem, and they contribute to the relationship difficulty approximately 50%. And she thought that that was rather cold and heartless statement to make. Especially in light of the fact that a lot of these ladies, are depressed and whatnot. But I went on to clarify in her email the same thing that I'm going to tell you guys in this video. I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong. I am saying that her intentions were good. She was doing the best that she knew how to do at the time. Her heart was in the right place. She thought she was doing the right thing. She was trying to get him to get it. It being understand her feelings, understand her wants, needs, expectations, and so on. But unfortunately, the message delivery that she used ended up raising his anxiety and or made him feel like he was being criticized and or influenced him to do some version of a shutdown or a meltdown. So nobody is saying, ladies, that you're not justified in being angry. Nobody is saying you're not justified in being depressed. Nobody is saying that there's no such thing as Cassandra syndrome, or that you just need to grow up and forget about being a victim and all this emotional deprivation and all of this nonsense. Your hurts are justified. Your pain is justified. It's real. I recognize it. I deal with it every day working with the ladies online. I see it firsthand. So when I say that you're contributing to the problem at least 50%, sometimes a little more, sometimes considerably less, this is not a criticism saying you're doing anything wrong. I understand you're doing what you think is the most effective thing to do. Unfortunately, it's backfiring. And that's what I mean by that. And it's honestly, I have to be brutally honest at this point, it's sad. It's sad because I know that you want this relationship fixed. I know that you're hurt. I know that you're depressed. And I know that you're desperate and feel so alone. You've got to change your message delivery, ladies. There's no other way to put it than that. On that note, I do have an NT ladies only group, and I'll put the link below here, and we will take a deep dive into how you can have a message to help him to get it that doesn't download to him as you being parental, talking down to him, you being critical, whatever else he does, some version of a shutdown or a meltdown. We have methods that will help you avoid that. So consider joining. Thanks for listening. So what I run into a lot is this situation where the man, in this case, we'll use the ASD man and the NT wife as the example, he is literally afraid of his NT wife at this point when the conflict has gone on for years unresolved. And this usually starts out by she, the NT wife, has not experienced the degree of emotional reciprocity that she wants and needs and desires. A lot of her expectations are not being met. This goes on for quite a few years. With good intention, she tries to reconcile differences, trying to make the relationship work, trying to fix some broken pieces. And her good faith effort usually downloads in his mind, the ASD man, as complaining, criticism, being parental, constantly correcting him. And so now he feels like he's on thin ice all the time. like he's in the doghouse much of the week. And I have heard so many self-reports from these men that they honestly are afraid to say much or do much because they just assume that they're going to get in trouble. And so they tend to basically go into shy mode. And this could look like he's spending less time with you. He doesn't really want to engage conversation with you. He may view you as his major source of anxiety. He tends to be preoccupied with other things. And that downloads in the NT wife's mind as he doesn't care about the relationship. I'm not important to him, and so on. But in many cases, what's really going on, he is just trying to avoid drama and conflict and arguments. He doesn't feel like he can win. And at some level, he's given up hope because he's, in his mind anyway, he has tried numerous things, none of which seem to help anything. And these men will say this a lot. It doesn't matter what I say or do, it's never good enough. And they are literally afraid, and I'm not exaggerating, they are constantly overly concerned, for good reason in their mind, that it's better to say nothing at this point, because when I try to fix it, oftentimes it makes a bad problem worse. And they're basically in a form of flight. And you may notice as an NT wife that sometimes he flips to the other side of that spectrum and goes into fight, which would be the meltdown, adult temper tantrum, and so on, and then flips back to the shutdown. So the moral to the story then is we need to come up with a communication strategy such that the NT wife can get her point across. In this case, the point being I need to get some of my needs met, without that downloading in his brain as I'm being attacked yet again. And so I really need to protect myself, and how I protect myself is to disconnect. Hey guys, this is Mark Hutten with AdultAsperger'sChat.com, and today I want to talk to the NT spouses out there, especially the NT wives. And I know that your husband on the autism spectrum is not providing you with the emotional reciprocity to the degree that you want, but bear in mind he has a developmental disorder. That means developmentally his social and emotional brain is somewhat stunted relative to his logical brain. So that area is immature, we will say, and I have a lot of NT wives that say, yeah, maturity level, he's probably more like a 14-year-old. And I don't mean that in some kind of sarcastic way. He is low in social and emotional intelligence, which means he's low in social and emotional needs. He doesn't have a lot of desire to be social and outgoing and to engage in a bunch of chit chat and hang out with people. And he's not really in touch with his feelings or other people's feelings, so he may even view emotions as getting in the way of completing tasks. So he is just not in this ballpark of needing a lot of social and emotional attention. You, on the other hand, are no doubt high in social intelligence, high in emotional intelligence, and quite honestly, as much as I hate to say this because it sounds so negative at some level, he's down here and he is never, ever going to match you. Now, I'm not saying he's off the chart. He's still in the ballpark and he can still provide some emotional reciprocity. And I have support groups and therapy groups that can help him work on that. But as much as it pains me to say this, don't ever expect him to come up to your level of social and emotional intelligence, and therefore providing you with the degree of emotional reciprocity that you want. I've run into this myself. In fact, my mother told me several times as a child that she thought my dad preferred to be at work more than he preferred to be at home. So I know this is a painful realization that so he's never ever going to provide me with the intimacy, the empathy and stuff that I want? Most likely not. That's not to say he can't come up a little bit. And that's not to say that maybe you can reduce your expectations a little bit. And I know that's a difficult thing to hear too. And some of you NT wives are saying right now, hell, I've already done that. I've already lowered my expectations a long time ago. But the moral to this story is you cannot fix his deficits. It's a hardwired deal that's unfixable. And you've wasted a lot of time and energy trying to fix the deficit. And it was not only a waste of time and energy, it made a bad problem worse because it downloaded in his mind as you were being critical, you were being over-controlling, and it raised his anxiety, which made him even less inclined to want to engage with you. Okay? So we can't fix the deficit there. But the good news is he has a lot more strengths than he does deficits. And so the moral to this video here is you and he both need to find his areas of strength. I'm sure you already know many of them. I'm sure he does. And you want to capitalize on those strengths. You want to focus on that. Spend your time and energy, both of you, on his strengths. Capitalize on those. Don't waste another second wasting time on fixing the deficit. That just ends in a disaster, as you know. So, what are some of his strengths? That's not a rhetorical question. I'm asking you, what are some of his strengths? In the comment section below, I want to hear from the NTs, and I want you to begin thinking about what are some of the strengths that he already has that we can build on and use those to enhance the relationship, establish communication, help him to more closely approximate you on the social and emotional scale. Okay? Hey guys, this is Mark Hutten with AdultAspergersChat.com, and I wanted to talk to the men out there on the autism spectrum who have anxiety. And if you're like most, as in like 100% of other people on the autism spectrum, anxiety just comes with the territory, right? But I don't want you to view anxiety as altogether a bad thing. Actually, there's a part of anxiety that is a good thing, even a survival mechanism. Now, we certainly don't want to have anxiety over everything all the time, but we are designed to have some anxiety over some things some of the time. So anxiety is actually a call to action. If you have some unresolved anxiety in your relationship, your anxiety is telling you that there is something not working quite right and change needs to happen. So it's good that you have some anxiety. If you don't have anxiety, you're either dead or you're a psychopath. And if you're listening to this video, you're not dead. And if you're not in prison, chances are pretty good you're not a psychopath. The message today is for you to view some of your anxiety as a call to action. It's a message that your brain is trying to send to you saying something is not functioning the way it can be and we need to change it. On that note, I have a men's group coming up for people on the autism spectrum who are having trouble in their relationships, and you don't have to have a formal diagnosis to join this group. So check it out. Click on the link below. Hey guys, this is Mark Hutten with AdultAspergersChat.com, and I got a couple emails recently that made me want to have this little talk, and that is, it's usually from the NT spouse. Most often it's the NT wife. And she will say, you know, I just long for the days back in the day when we first got together and we would talk for hours and everything was spontaneous. And now we fast forward to today and we never talk. I just wish we could just sit down and talk. I hate to pop your bubbles. Please forgive me. But talking is work to him. I'm sorry, you didn't want to hear that. Talking is work to him. So then the question becomes, okay, what am I supposed to do then? You need to find something to do together that remotely resembles play. Play, remember that word? P-L-A-Y, you used to do that back in the day. That's the magic word for this little speech, play, P-L-A-Y. Italicized, underlined, bold, font of 72, and color red. Write it down, play. You've got to find something that is remotely recreational or somewhat entertaining for him that you guys can do together. Because if you wait to have quality time in the form of talk, you're going to be waiting a long time. That's not quality time to him. I know it's quality time to you. And there are some guys out there that like to talk. Mostly about their special interests, though. So if you can find something, and I know that there's something out there that you could find that he would enjoy and you would find some enjoyment, you can do it together. Think in terms of play. Don't you dare comment under this video and say there's not one damn thing I could think of that even be remotely enjoyable to him. I'm not going to buy it. There has to be something. He's not a freaking robot. Okay? So, the magic word for today is what? Play. You get it? Okay, well, if you get it, then do it. Because if you get it and don't do it, it doesn't cut it. So what are you waiting for? Go play. Hey guys, this is Mark Hutten with AdultAspergersChat.com, and today I've got a message for you guys out there on the autism spectrum. The NTs are probably not going to appreciate this video, so you may want to click off. At any rate, you're not your disorder. You're not a narcissist. You're not a sociopath. You're not a selfish, uncaring, insensitive asshole. Now, your NT wife might disagree, and there have been times when you have behaved very selfishly, haven't we all? But due to mind blindness, a trait of the disorder, you have difficulty understanding how your wife thinks. You have difficulty understanding another person's perspective. Due to another trait of the disorder, alexithymia, you have difficulty understanding how your wife feels. And so sometimes these deficits, we'll call them, may download in your NT wife's brain as he is being selfish and uncaring. So that's totally understandable. I understand why she might think that, but I also know that it's a false assumption. You never woke up one day and thought, God, I really don't have anything better to do with my time or my energy than to argue with my wife and to be as rude as possible to piss her off. I don't think you ever had that thought. That may have been the end result of a particular conversation, but that wasn't your motivation. Oftentimes your motivation is to avoid anxiety, especially if it's a difficult conversation with her. And so sometimes your anxiety reduction technique has been some form of a meltdown, or some form of a shutdown, or some form of false agreement. And what I mean by that is you were listening to your wife, or she thought you were, and you were saying things like, yeah, okay, honey, yeah, sure, yeah, I'll get it done, yeah, whatever you say, just so you could hurry up and get the conversation over with because it was stressing you out. So your anxiety reduction strategies have often made a bad problem worse, and it does appear to her as you're being, that you don't care about the relationship and that she's not important. So I want to validate that part on her end, but I also want to make the message here in this video, and that is you are not your disorder. You are not your traits. Your intentions were not to purposely be hurtful. Not that you've never sought revenge, I'm sure you have, but that's been the exception rather than the rule. And I'm going on record as saying your motivation has never been, or rarely has been, to be selfish, uncaring, insensitive, narcissistic, sociopathic, or any other labels that you have been stuck with. You are not your labels. You're not your disorder. You are not somebody who is intentionally going around trying to spray on people like a skunk. On a related note, I do have a men's group coming up. The link will be below this video. The link will be below this video. Click on that link and register for this men's group, and we will look at some ways for you to reestablish a bond, reestablish trust with your NT wife, to actually start providing her with some emotional reciprocity, which she has wanted so desperately for so long. And this is going to make your life better because it's going to reduce your relationship stress, which will reduce your anxiety, which will make you less inclined to engage in some of these anxiety reduction techniques that have backfired. Okay. Hey guys, this is Mark Hutten with AdultAspergersChat.com, and I wanted to just speak very briefly to the men out there who have autism spectrum disorder, Asperger's syndrome, high functioning autism, whatever we want to call it nowadays, ASD level 1. I wanted to speak to you briefly about why your neurotypical wife is so pissed off at you most of the time. Think of it like this. When you guys are arguing or disagreeing, or she's upset about something and she's trying to consult you and plead with you to work on the relationship and this and that, right? Your anxiety reduction technique has probably tended to be to retreat, to go away, to shut down, to take a time out to basically disconnect. And that has been your anxiety reduction technique. And it works temporarily, right? Her anxiety reduction technique is to get the thing resolved, get the issues resolved. And when you retreat, it never gets resolved. So she never gets to experience her anxiety reduction technique. So you win 100% of the time. She loses 100% of the time. And what I mean by that is you always get your relief, and she never gets her relief. And when this drags on for years and years, it causes the problem that you're experiencing. Most of the men that I talk to, they don't really see that there's a big deal. They're like, okay. Psychologically and physiologically, they're not really having much of a problem. She, on the other hand, in many cases, is having some mental health issues, some physical issues. She feels emotionally starved. Some even call it the Cassandra syndrome stuff. But at any rate, you're batting 100%, she's batting 0%, and the odds are in your favor, and she views this as very unfair, and that's why she's mad. So, by the way, I have a men's group coming up, so please feel free to click on the link below this video and join, and we will come up with some strategies that can help this situation. Hey guys, this is Mark. Click on the join button underneath any of my videos, then click on members only videos, and then click on join, and for $9.99 a month, you'll have access to members only videos, which are excerpts from previous workshops I've conducted for NT partners, ASD partners, and the neurodiverse couple. New videos will be uploaded weekly.